Hey, thanks for taking the time out to talk with me.
No problem.
Our pleasure.
Happily, no
Hello.
problem.
So where are you guys right now?
Scotland.
Wherever.
I'm in London, England.
I'm also in London, England.
I'm in Scotland. Scotland.
It
Really narrows it down for us.
really does.
Yeah.
You guys are way cooler places than I am.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I got a chance to watch the film. Man, it was great. Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you very
and you
much.
two were fantastic. And that ending, I love how Andrew, you didn't pull like any punches on it. It was just like you weren't like at the end. It was like, oh, everything's gonna be okay. No.
No, no, really not going to be okay. I was worried. Can I just say, when we made the film, it was right in the middle of Brexit on this side of the pond, and it was about Trump on that side of the pond. And I remember it was 2020, and Trump was out of office. Biden was coming in. I thought, oh, we missed our moment. Like everything we wanted to see was tied into the atmosphere and the level of toxicity and division that was being stoked. And you just look at events in the world, whether it's Ukraine or whether it's Gaza and Israel, or what's happening right now in Iran. And I don't want to get too deep, but a film like this, you can't pull your punches because it's talking about things that we see every day and we read in the newspapers
Yeah.
or online every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that. You guys filmed this in Scotland, and it just makes it feel so much more authentic. How did you decide to film it there?
I'm Scottish. I've toured that area a lot, either as a tourist or in my professional capacity as a filmmaker. And I just knew it had first of all, I knew it had the infrastructure. Like I knew we could drive to a lot of these places and, just walk up a hill and we'd get there. When I say a hill, with lots of equipment on your back. So no, I knew Scotland had I knew it had the infrastructure to get us to places that gave the impression that you were in desolate, expansive landscapes with mythic, ancient features, and that just felt vast and dangerous, and that gives the film attention. So yeah, that was it really. And Screen Scotland were really instrumental in funding the film as well. So I knew they'd be supportive. So there's creative decisions and there's also financial decisions you have to make, but it was a great partnership.
For you two, I'm an actor too, and I once filmed a Civil War movie on location. We were like on the grounds where they were actually the battles were. Uh,
Wow.
so how and I loved it because it just made everything feel in my head like much more real. What about filming where you guys filmed? I mean, man, those forests and those the hills and everything was just the backdrop of it was just like in to put it in your head, must have been even easier.
Yeah. Oh, you go for it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was cake. Um it wasn't. We were also shooting in perhaps the most extreme weather conditions I've seen, let alone worked in. Because we were really out there in that kind of winter time when sometimes the rain said no. And we were like, okay, let's go. But we were very fortunate. So it was kind of how you Andrew and the crew kind of scheduled it. But we were kind of like there was beach week and there was like
Mhm.
tundra week, and then it was like then we went into the woods. And not everything was chronological, but we had the privilege of kind of doing a lot of it sort of chronologically, which was great. So when we got up into like the mountains and stuff, like you don't have to pretend like, oh, this is 45,000 BC. You just mentally edit out the telephone pole that's sort of in the distance. But we were really out in a place that is, it's not wildly populated by man. It wasn't that there was a skyscraper around the corner. Like, we really were out there, and there was just a slight element of, because when you read a script, you kind of go, "Oh, I wonder what that set will look like," and maybe it's been built. Maybe we're going to go transform some found space into something really cool. And it was like that tree isn't. Yeah, what about that one? It was just there, and so
Yeah.
and so like it like everything was so there and visceral for us. The only thing we had to do was really, as you always do, is like edit out the crew who are in parka jackets and beanies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because other than that, like it could be 45,000 BC. We're a group of people in furs speaking a made up language, literally on those locations. So it really did make sense.
Yeah, and it really helped, like you said, with the performances having that kind of like beach week. Because on beach week we were like, yeah, we can't
It
wait to
sounds so spring
the cave.
break, but it's not.
Beach week
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
that. We were like, we can't wait to get to the caves, and then we were in the forest, and we were like, we cannot wait to get out of this forest. So it really
Yeah.
helped because like we did really feel those things, and like being outside all day, every day for hours for like 6 weeks. You can see it in our faces. Like by the end of the film, our faces are like swollen and like our skin feels thick and everything is just like heavier. And like we've spent so long tensing our muscles from the cold that we've become like rigid, and all of that physicality and like actual kind of the brutality of nature fed into our performances so massively. Like the landscape is the seventh character in the film without a doubt. It is I'd say the most important character in the film, is the landscape. It's so incredible.
And the
I'd say to
thing
the
that
point where
cinema doesn't do as well is the smells. Like towards the end, their costumes like really, really stink. And
there's some
you know,
decomposition
yeah,
happening.
They
and
stink at the beginning.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
scratch
Well,
and
I mean,
sniff cards. I think that would be helpful.
the one thing I will say is like often what happens is, you go off and shoot something, especially if you're away from home and you are kind of sort of in a bubble. Even if it's not a COVID bubble, you're in a bubble and you're off doing that thing. There's always a little bit of a slightly tricky period when you come back and just like kind of putting your reality back. Imagine all of us coming back to metropolitan, cosmopolitan cities in various countries around the globe and feeling like we speak caveman.
Yeah.
Walking into Tesco and like, it was so much of its own thing. I mean, we were so privileged to experience those places in such a kind of vivid way that when we came back, I didn't know what to do with myself for a long time. It was very bizarre.
Me too. It was weird. It was a really weird one to adjust back from. Yeah, we lived in it. We really lived in it.
Because there was no catering truck, there was no dining table. It was hot boxes of food, and it was just here's your order, and you would just
Yeah.
find a rock or a little grassy stump, and you would
Yeah.
curl up.
Yeah, and eat your food.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
remember
then, okay, let's get back to it. Let's get back to it.
Yeah.
being back at home, and mum was like, "Dad, take your like." I'd have my
Take your
knees
time.
up on the chair, like whilst I was eating. She'd be like, "Take your feet off the chair. We're at the dinner table." And it took me so long to like
She
eat
went
like a human
like
again,
that.
like not with my hands.
And all the human meat that you had to eat. I mean,
Jackfruit.
Yeah, of course.
Jackfruit.
Jackfruit.
Other meat
It-
substitutes are available.
It was jackfruit, but it was jackfruit with like chicken flavoring
It was
on it,
Cajun
so it looked
Jackfruit.
Cajun
Okay.
flavoring. Yeah,
Doesn't sound too bad, actually. My wife eats jackfruit all the time.
It's so bad.
You say that though. You say that, but come take 12.
Right, yeah, true.
And it's cold, and
Yeah.
it's been in a Tupperware all day, and yeah, I've tried jackfruit in real life recently, and I was like, this is so good. And then I was like, what did props do to it? Like, why was it bad?
Yeah.
I want to ask about the language that you guys spoke. What was the process in learning that for you? Because like, I sometimes I have a hard time remembering my lines in English.
Well, fair enough. Oh no, we definitely forgot stuff all the time.
For sure.
What?
I know. I definitely forgot stuff. I definitely remember times doing a line and going, no, that was yesterday's line. That was yesterday. Sounds similar, but not quite. I mean, we like with any language, or with any acting, you do get the slight advantage on screen of kind of paying attention to the bit you have to do immediately, and then kind of like doing that, unlearning it, letting it go, looking at the next thing. But I think I can speak for all of us involved that as we went on, it just kind of became more and more second nature, and I knew I would learn it quicker. Whereas like at the beginning, I was definitely kind of, you're trying to get your mouth around it and feeling like, it's kind of like when if you write with one hand, suddenly trying to write with the other, it feels wrong and feels like you're a baby learning from scratch. And then suddenly you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, if we're doing this together, we kind of, we're boosting all of each other up. And then it kind of became quite straightforward in a way. Until Andrew would come in with a note where you go, well, actually, Andrew, it's pronounced like this. And he's like, yeah, but the scene's more important than how you think it is. And so I was like, okay, fine. But yeah.
These damn directors, man. I mean, they gotta, be sticklers.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's trying to make a movie. All right. I'm trying to be authentic.
What
To
were
a piece
your
of fiction.
what were your auditions like? I mean, did you like audition like with like English, or did you have to learn any sort of the made up language?
Well, I don't
First,
know
it was
what you
English, right?
did. Yeah, the first one
Mm,
was English. The second one was the language, but we
Yep.
got a
yeah,
script that had the English alongside the language. And
Yep.
actually, no, I think the
yeah.
second one had 2 scenes in English, 1 scene in the language, or something like that.
Yes, that rings a
Yeah,
bell.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
yeah.
then I don't know whether there was one that was just in the language, but then by the time we were in the room, it was all in the language. And also in the room, there was an obstacle course. So we walked into the room and there was like a table, there was a suitcase, there was a
Mhm.
mop broom, and before
There's a
we did,
broom.
there was a broom, there was a broom, and
It
it
was
was
a
Yeah.
actually
spear.
it was a
Spear.
spear. It was a
Sphere. Yeah,
there was a
use it as a sphere.
spear, and there was some caves, suitcases, and and Andrew was like, you have to like go under and over and around, and you have to look like you're hunting a hare, and it was
Oh,
honestly, it was a really cool acting. I mean, it was a really cool audition because I don't know what you get, but I went into it thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna have to do this language. Those guys are obviously gonna know it so well. No. But I was like, they're gonna know it like word for word. And then to go in there and like be kind of completely thrown off and get all of your like adrenaline and energy out for the first like 20 minutes doing like these hunts and like there's like smashing things and breaking things. And by the time we got to the dialogue, I was tired. And I just
oh
said it,
yeah.
but not anymore.
I back that. I mean, yeah. I think the first round you send in a tape, and it was like just a script in English, and it was also one of the only scripts, probably the first script I'd read beginning to end without putting it down, and I was like, "Ooh, what's this?"
Yeah.
And then they rudely sprung it on me that there was another language after I got invested already. I was like, "Oh no, I've got to learn this whole other thing." But then that in itself was a lot of fun. I think I went too far and basically tried to like also myself like try and almost come up with like signs for it and stuff at the beginning, not quite
Oh
knowing like
yes.
what developer of man people were at. All of us just trying stuff. And then when it came to the obstacle course thing, I mean it's very similar to like having done a little bit of green screen work or blue screens where you're suddenly like, the monster's over there. No, it's over there. The second monster's over there. And you kind of like, well, you surrender yourself to wherever you're being led. And it really didn't matter whether you were doing it in a room with a suitcase and a spear or whether it was on location and you're on location, that's real. You're wearing the real stuff. You're with the people. The only fake bit or the bizarre bit is how you're communicating. And so actually, and of course the director.
Andrew's
But but then so actually it's just one other element to make your imagination leap. And I think it takes a little bit of finessing because you're so used to communicating in one way. But then because I think even behind the camera, nobody was speaking the language, but they were all getting it. They were all understanding what was going on. And so, yeah, we all had very bizarre experiences, but I guess it works.
Yeah.
For me, yeah. Hey, Andrew, when
Yeah.
you were casting the film, what was it about these two that made them stand out, new, and made you know that they were the right ones? I mean, obviously you made the right choice because they were fantastic.
Yeah, I remember both of their tapes vividly because they made me lean in to my screen. Because you're watching tape, 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 tape. And there were other fine actors on those tapes, but they were able to transmit. Like Kit had very deeply thought about the language and how he was going to deliver it, and had obviously done a lot of hard yards just on that tape. So on commitment alone, I was like, I want to see this guy in the room. But also he was really investing so much emotion into this. And then again, I thought if he does half of that in the room, he's got the part because it's a hard thing to regurgitate over and over again. But if you've got it there to start with, it makes my job as a director much easier to try and eke that out when we're on the floor. And with Safia, I mean, Kit had done a bit. You'd done Shadow and Bone by that point, right?
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
hadn't dropped yet. So Kit had done like long form television. Saf had done 2 short films, and was this complete unknown entity that Heather Baston, our fantastic casting director, unearthed her from somewhere, Derby, and
The Midlands.
yeah. And again, I was just watching this kid that just had there was just I could read her thoughts. I could see the thought process, and obviously the look and everything else was what Ruth and I had always imagined. But then it is about, in a film where there isn't a lot of dialogue and a lot of the movie is going to be about what's happening here, you just need to know that somebody has got that thought process. And then, you get them in the room, you work them physically, you work them over the lines. Can they take my direction the way I direct? And then the decision comes pretty easy. And then it's wonderful afterwards where you start to work with them and you realize, oh, you guys are not only talented and have imaginations, you're also really diligent, and you do your homework and you have interesting questions and you look out for each other and you look out for the rest of the cast. And yeah, so it was, I big shout out to Heather Baston, because she put these guys in front of me, and without her,
100%.
it might have went a different way. So yeah.
Well, that's my time. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Again, I thought the film was great. So
Thank you very
thank you,
much.
dude.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Lance.
Thank you.
hope to talk to each one of you again at some point.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, man.